here today. And I'm also, again, like I mentioned, sharing this to YouTube. So if you guys want to see the recording or anything afterwards, just check out Lumi Wealth, the name of our company, Lumi Wealth here today. There you go. And I'm also, there it is. Yeah, there you go. Now we're live on YouTube. So if you guys want to get the recording of this afterwards, you can get it off on YouTube. And then also, if you want to see any other stuff that we've produced as a company, there's a lot of free content there. So make sure to check it out on YouTube. All right, Greg, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, thank you, Robert. So hi, I'm Greg Tanaka. I'm going to give you guys a demo of our machine learning based stock price forecaster that uses natural language processing. Here's the agenda. Let me do something right now, and that way I can see the questions. And then also let me bring up the chat so that I can see that. Okay, good. Yeah, so we're going to first start off with like who's on the call so that I can better target the presentation to you folks. I'll go over kind of introduction to myself. I'll talk about machine learning based forecasting. I'll talk about some trading returns, different tools that we'll be using. I'll go over the code. I'll be giving a demo, talking about the course in detail, and then of course answering questions. And in general, I like to try to answer questions throughout the presentation. So feel free to raise your hand. I have the Q&A and the chat window open. So yeah, just fire away. Okay, so first one is who's on this call. So in the Zoom chat, if you don't know, it's I can't really show you it on my screen, but basically it's one of the buttons on the bottom, and you can basically it's like maybe 4 from the left. It says chat. So you open up the window and then just put in kind of like these 3 questions. So what is your occupation? So I'll do myself first. So Greg Tanaka. Okay, and I'll put down my occupation is machine learning expert. And then do I know how to program code? Yes. And then how much investment experience do you have in, let's see, let me uncover this. In years, I've been doing this since the 90s, so I guess 30 years. Okay. Okay, so if you guys could do that, that'd be awesome. And that way I kind of know who's on and you guys kind of know who else is on, so it'll help everyone. Okay, so who am I? So as I mentioned, I'm Greg Tanaka. I grew up in California, went to Caltech in Berkeley for electrical engineering, computer science. I also did some graduate work at Stanford, the SITN at Stanford in electrical engineering. I done like 4 startups, did a lot of work around GPUs, a lot of work on machine learning for the past decade or so, especially around forecasting. And my last startup, we raised over $10 million from Andreessen Horowitz, Menlo Ventures, Google Ventures, a lot of top tier investors. And my current company, Pico, does a lot of work around helping to craft custom trading algorithms, especially in the crypto space. So what is Lumi Wealth? Lumi Wealth is an education organization that teaches courses on how to be financially independent using software, using programming. So they have a algo trading course, they have an option trading course, they have a crypto trading course, and of course, the one we're talking about here is a machine learning trading course. And so I was looking for an edge, and Lumi Wealth gives you that edge. They basically teach you how to fish, so which is I think really cool and a really good idea. I want to encourage you guys to check us out or check out our YouTube channel. You can simply go to YouTube and type Lumi Wealth. It'll pop right up. And the reason why is because Robert and team are always creating more videos, including this video will be on YouTube. And there's tons of new videos always being put on there. So if you follow this YouTube channel, You'll get access to a lot of free content. There's also discussion going on there. So highly encourage you guys to do it. And you could click this link. I'll just copy the link, and you guys can, oops, you guys can, oops, I can't seem to, in presentation mode, I can't seem to, here it goes. Okay, I'll paste it in for you guys. Okay. In fact, I'll do better now. I'm going to show you what the YouTube channel looks like. Okay, yeah, so you can see our thing being live streamed right now, but you can see all the different courses. Actually, this is just a small summary of them. If you actually look at it, there's just pages and pages of video, right? So really, really thoughtful material here. Okay, let me go back to the presentation. The other resource is this Discord channel. So let me open up the chat again. I don't know what my chat window. Let me open it up. So Discord is like a group messaging where a lot of people who are, oh, you know what? I don't know if I am doing this right. I should have done this here. Let me paste some of my prior messages in here because I think you guys probably didn't see that. Okay, hold on. I forgot my first one too. Okay, good. Now Discord. Discord is great because there's so many like-minded people who are doing augmented trading. Let me see if I can find my window. I have so many windows open. Let me see. Yeah, here it is. Here's a Discord channel. So it's similar to Slack, except it is like filled and focused on augmented trading. So lots of people in this group, always active. I have trouble keeping up with it. It's so active. Lots of people in it. It's free, so I would encourage you guys to join. Let me go back into presentation mode. Okay. After this webinar, there's going to be a survey. And if you guys could help answer the survey, that'd be great. We're also looking for feedback. So please, share your thoughts with us. And then, as I mentioned earlier, ask questions throughout the presentation. That I do best that way. So when I just talk to myself, sometimes I just ramble. So if there's a question you guys have, just feel free to ping me. I'm going to move some of these windows because I think it might be blocking some of the graphics here. Okay, so what is the core of trading? If you think about the core of trading is essentially forecasting. It is the art of forecasting. That's what you're doing when you're trading. You're trying to forecast more accurately than the next guy. And what that really means is you're trying to figure out when do you buy and when do you sell a security. And it all depends on what is the price of that security. Here's an example of the TSG, the STARS group. And you can see the historical open and close price of the STARS group, right? And you can see it's done pretty well. And what traders will do is they'll use something called technical indicators or technical analysis, which is, some people have called it the reading tea leaf for guys. I think there's a little bit more to it than that, but some people don't think very highly of it. And I'll get into why later. But like if you look at here, this is RSI down here in the purple. You saw that it broke 60 here, and then down here it's above 60 all the way down to this point here where it hit 33. And so you can use that as a signal to know that that the STARS group is a good time to buy. Basically, these indicators are used to forecast the future prices of securities. Okay, let me move more windows here. So the big problem with traditional trading indicators is that, and this really can sum it up two ways. First one is read an article in Seeking Alpha. If you guys haven't read Seeking Alpha, just Google it and read it. It has a lot of great investment advice. The first one is that algorithmic trading dominates most of the stock market, like 80%. So you're thinking when you're trading that you're trading with someone else on the other side, but it's not really a person. It's just some bot programmed to take money from you. So, because so much algorithmic trading dominates the stock market, powerful trading strategies based on simple indicators have largely been eliminated by trading algorithms decades ago. The other big issue is that simplistic indicator models don't have the capacity to capture complex forecasting patterns. And so it's hard for you to get an edge to offer something else that other traders don't have or don't really know. Okay, so what's the difference between traditional indicators and machine learning? Well, machine learning indicators are really easy to calculate and understand. Usually you can do it with just a regular calculator, not even a programmable calculator. And well, that's the upside. The downside is that you have very limited ability to factor in other information. And what you find out about forecasting is that it's all about extracting information out of the features that you have. When you try to extract too much, or you're not very efficient at it, it can cost you a lot, or you get a negative review. So you gotta be careful with that. In terms of machine learning, a lot of software is trying to eat the world, and wealthier cities. I think for machine learning, the advantage here is that it's computationally complex and harder to implement. But the really big advantage here is that you get a limited ability to factor in different kinds of information. So you can factor in text data, you can factor in GDP, you can factor in just about anything. And the way you got to think about forecasting is that there's a certain amount of predictive information in each of the features that you're using. And what machine learning does is able to help you extract that predictive information better, more efficiently than with traditional indicators. And so machine learning is very much cutting edge these days. And so it's a way to get that edge over other type of traditional type of indicators that people may be using right now. Okay, so what is machine learning? One of the best ways to kind of think about machine learning is that with conventional programming, you have your data. So maybe this is the day that you want to forecast for, and then you have your program, which is maybe the program that will generate what is the closing price of that stock on the day that you input, right? So you have a little Python program that could do that, and it spits out the results. This is like what you call traditional or conventional programming, like with Python. With Solidity or with machine learning models, basically it flips it around. So the results in program are flipped around. So rather than feeding in the program and getting the results out, you feed in data, you feed in the result that you want from that data, so what they call ground truth, and then it spits out the program. So it kind of turns it on its head. And so the real big advantage of something like this is that essentially there are problems that are really hard to describe through traditional or conventional programming methods, right? Like computer vision, right? Or forecasting. Those are examples of ones which are difficult to explicitly build, right? And conventional programming is more analogous to, let's say, a surgeon trying to do brain surgery on your head. That's like what conventional programming is. You're explicitly laying out the wires. With machine learning, it's more analogous to where you learn, like and I learn, right? As people learn, which is there's no real physical contact to your head. What you're doing is you're working with various groups, and you're trying to bridge the difference between those groups to get people to join. So what's happening here with machine learning is that it opens up so many different possibilities to get more rich, much more powerful models, as well as being able to solve problems that were really hard to solve with conventional programming. So I want to talk quickly a little bit about what our company does. So Pico Group, basically, which is my company, what we do, and let me try and move this stuff around, is we develop custom algos based on people's requirement. We'll host it for them on the cloud. We have a little interface around that to make it easy to use. We have all these safeguards in case there's a bug in the algo, right? Your trading algo, and there's almost always bugs. You're safe because there's a fail-safe on there. We provide all the back testing facilities, and then we have a library of machine learning algorithms in there that are kind of like Lego building blocks that allow us to help build your algorithm much faster than you could otherwise. Now, let me talk a little bit about performance examples. And before I do that, I just want to just give a safe harbor, which is that this presentation, as well as all the courses that Robert's talking about, is purely information only, right? This is not a promise. This is just kind of what our experience has been. With that said, the average machine learning based investor gets an average Sharpe ratio of 3.3. So Sharpe ratio is a measure of performance versus risk. And so anything over 1 is usually considered very good. So to get 3.3 is just mind-blowingly good. If you look at the average company annual growth rate, it's about 42%. So, and there's some people with a way higher company annual growth rate. Of course, they might have taken on more risk, but this just illustrates that it's actually possible to make quite a bit of money in machine learning by using machine learning models. Okay, so for today's demo, I'm going to be using Alpaca, which is a API to trade stocks, and it has like really great rates, so it's commission free, and also there's like no minimum, and they're very generous with their data. We can use Python 3, which is kind of like the modern version of Python. We're using Pandas. Pandas is like the Excel of Python. So it allows you to manipulate a lot of data very easily. TA is a technical analysis library of Python library. Scikit-learn, which is the kind of like the granddaddy of machine learning libraries. Google Collab, Google Cloud Platform, and then Google Natural Language Processing. So these are all the tools that we'll be using today. Okay, so I want to just talk about the setup here. So I'll talk about how we use Alpaca, how we initialize the API, how we scrape a website called FinViz, which has a lot of news articles on different stocks. We can scrape that via beautiful soup, get the training data, and then test the data against the setup. The next thing we'll do is we're going to test the model. Generate the model, or train the model, and then test the results, right? With generated predictions and then analyzing the results. Again, if I'm going fast, just let me know. Okay, so this is kind of like what we call the trigger code for our forecaster. So there's the forecast piece, and then there's a trigger part piece, right? The forecast predicts what the price is going to be, and the trigger trades based on what the forecast is. And so this was super simple. Basically, if the close price is less than the predicted price, right, that means it's going to fall. You should sell, right? And likewise, if the predicted price is higher than 1 plus a threshold, like 33%, right? You should lose it, make it negative, as you see with the negative amount. Otherwise, don't do anything. Okay, so let me give you guys a quick demo and show you guys what's going on. Oh man, I lost my Collab that I had open. Okay, guys, just give me a second. I gotta bring it back up. Sorry guys, I mistakenly closed that tab, so I have it up now. Let me share my my window again. Okay, so for those of you that are not familiar with Collab, Collab is a version of a Jupyter notebook. What Jupyter notebooks are basically each cell is like a mini program. So it makes it very easy to do experiments, makes it very easy to debug things. So here we're just going to install some dependencies and import some libraries. The next thing we're going to do here is, let me see if I can scroll. It's not scrolling. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up Google Cloud to get the secrets for our API for basically for Alpaca. In general, I encourage not to put passwords in your source code. It's very dangerous. It's a good way to get hacked. So generally don't do that. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to initialize the services for the natural language processing. And then down here, we have the code for actually using the natural language processing. And what we're going to do is we're going to analyze sentiment. Down here, we're essentially going to use Beautiful Soup to scrape this website here. Let me show you what it looks like. Okay, so here's a website. And what you see is that there's a bunch of news articles on various securities. So what we're going to do is we're going to scrape this website, take the information of each news article, and then rate whether the article is positive or negative. Okay, so that's essentially what we're doing here. It's basically a big for loop going through and trying to scrape all the information on this website. Once we have all the information, we're going to go through another for loop and try to get it cleaned up and presentable for our model. And then once we've done that, all we're doing is essentially running Google Cloud's natural language processor to get a sentiment score. And that's what's happening here. And so you see that each of these articles has a score. One means that it's very positive for Agilent, and negative one means it's very negative, right? So you can see it's kind of somewhat neutral. Okay, the next thing we do is we get set up to essentially set the time zone, and you can see what the data frame looks like right now. Okay, and then there's some helper functions. This is an important one. This one actually, because a lot of times if you try to use too much data from a pocket, it blocks you. This basically gets a certain amount and then keeps on retrying to get to all the data. So it's a lot more persistent. Okay, so let's talk about NLP. And I'm also going to try to make sure I'm not missing anyone's questions. I'm going to try to move my windows right over here so I can see them. Okay. So most of the work with natural language processing or machine learning in general is going to be data manipulation, lunging the data in a format that the model can understand the data. So here you picked adjuvant, stock A, and then we say what period of time do you want it. And then we get all the data from the bar set. So this will get pull all the relevant data for this data frame. And then it will basically translate all this data into a new format called train data minute. I can't seem to scroll. Okay. And then what we're doing here is we are starting to build up the training set for our model. And more importantly, we're saying yes to some things that we're going to really want to have, and then we're going to probably trim features that we don't think are as important. These are some common features like just transforming the date time. Another one is adding some of these hyperparameter features for the model. And then we get more data. You can see the training, right, for the ones that we got. And then we can also add additional helper functions. We'll join all this data together once we generated all of it. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to test it out. So we said before we did the training, we set aside some data, and now we're going to test the model to see if the model really learned or just memorize the photos. Let me go next slide. So these are just basically using the TA, basically duplicating what we did above for the case without NLP, and this is the case with NLP. So same procedure that we did before on the other code, and yeah. So basically, by doing that, you get a list of the random forest without you see the performance of this model here with the rolling. So this what this is doing here is this is doing a rolling prediction. So that means rather than just having the forecast distance increase as you generate more time, as you generate more predictions in the future, it's basically sliding the window along, or what's called rolling, having a rolling frame. And then here you can see that we're doing training with random forest regressor. So hard to move forward. Okay. And then we can look at like, well, how did our forecast look against the actuals? So you can see the actuals were the dark blue, and then the predicted is the orange. So overall, not bad, right? The other neat thing about random forest is that it tells you what feature was most important to the model. Okay, and probably one of the most important things is there's hundreds, if not thousands, of different ways of measuring error. And what's most important is to understand the different types of ways of measuring error and to select the error rate that makes the most sense for your model. Because if you pick the wrong model, wrong error for your model, it's really hard to optimize it. Okay, look, Samuel just asked a question. Is that random forest regressor from the sklearn package or something else? It's straight from the sklearn package. So that's a great thing about machine learning today, is that there's so many awesome Python libraries. So great question, Samuel. Keep the questions coming. If RSI is that much more important tomorrow, are the other fields really relevant? The answer is yes. So there's just some that are just way more. And does that mean you should just eliminate everything else? No, not necessarily. You may want to keep like volume or some other metrics that are scored higher, right? So you can see if you can improve those scores. But yeah, you don't have to just use the models I talked about here. Okay, so yeah, so these are some sklearn metrics. And then let's see, let me move down here. Let's look at to see what happens when you don't use NLP. Well, actually, you know what? One thing I forgot to do is I need to launch one of the jobs. So let me answer. Okay, yeah, so this is the Pico website, the Pico Group website. Again, this is where people who want to have like a turnkey solution for their algo training bot would go to. And then you can log in here, and I'll take you to this page here. In this page here, you describe what you want to do, like that you want to deploy a training bot, and you want to back test to see how well it performs. So that's an example that you might want to do. Okay, so in our case here, let's pick a time period. We're going to pick 3. Let's scroll down. Let me make it bigger. It's too small. Okay, so we're going to use Alpaca. We have several different support like Alpaca, Interactive Brokers, and Bybit. We're going to do a backtest. And then we're not going to do the spreads right now. So that's more complex than we need right now. We're only going to run it once. I think defaults are fine here. We start with 10K. In terms of time period, let's just pick, let's say 3, 10, 2021 at, let's say 9:30. Okay, and then we'll stop it at, let's see here, 1 and 3 here. We'll stop it a few days later, 3/15, 2021, and we'll go this till 4 p.m. to close the market. Okay. And then we're going to just use a simple trigger, like the one I talked about earlier. We're gonna have a fairly low threshold, so like maybe 0.3. Okay, and then we're going to just pick Agilent. No, we've been using that as our test case. And we're not going to set an accident position. We say yes. I can't really move this form. Okay. So we submit the form now. So it's pretty easy to get signed up. Okay. So we'll let this run and then make it back to the the code. Oh, Sam asked another good question here. if RSI, oh, let's see, wait, hold on. Actually, I already answered this one. So let me put this one. Okay, I think we all got all those questions answered. I want to make sure I got everyone's question. Okay, good. I think we did. So I'm going to do the same thing now without the NLP indicator. So that means I'm going to drop the sentiment from the training data. And then when I do that, let me show you what happens. It will evaluate the model ANOVA. And one way of measuring, whether it's been significant is to calculate the p-value. When we calculate p-value, if it's small, then that means it's significant. So basically, even though it wasn't the most important factor, it did help. NLP did help improve the model's performance. Okay, so let me jump back to the presentation. Okay, so I showed you here a demo. Let me move this up out of the way. That showed you using deep machine learning basics. It's using the Google NLP cloud, and oops, it's jumping around. And we use a random forest and forecast 15 minutes in the future. The course is going to go in much more depth in all three of these areas. And I'll show you the results of the training demo later with the forecast. I'm going to go now to the LumaBot demo. So once you have a model that works really well and it's making you money, you want to productionize it. And the way to productionize it is you could go to a service like mine, like Pico Group, or you could use the LumaBot source code. And so I'll show you how to do that. So LumaBot basically is on GitHub. You guys could download it right now. It allows you to do back testing. You could do trading as well with the forecast. You could use it in Google Cloud or with VS Code, which a lot of people use. And so this is what the final project will look like. Oops, let me flip to the oh, hey, the results came in. Okay, so let me show you guys the results. So basically, start with 10K, and by doing algorithm trading, we got a 35% net profit. Not a huge amount, but this is only a few days, and a CAGR of 28%. So that's pretty good, 29%. Sharp ratio of 4, which is just phenomenal. It's not a lot of risk and really good return. Okay, so let me try to find the LumaBot demo. I think I have to unhide this one. Okay, here it is. Too many windows open. I'm trying to move this stuff out of the way. So let me walk through this. Again, you guys can get all this side of GitHub. There's several different directories. There's a data directory where we download the source code, and not the source code, but the raw trading data from, let's say, Alpaca. And you can run that by running the script called download price data Alpaca _ Try to open it. Okay, yeah. Let me just move this. Okay, and then so there's this one here which downloads. Downloads. Let me go to here. Okay, that's better. Okay. So here you can see this is the main thing. So we had the other script I showed you downloads the data from Alpaca. And then once you have it downloaded, what you can do is you can actually run the backtesting. So this class actually has a backtesting capabilities. And then you can also pick which strategy you want to use. What is the budget you want to have, where you want to log all this data. And then you can start implementing your trading bot using your random forest forecaster. You can pick whatever symbol you want. You can read a CSV file of the data frame, your training data, and then what you do is you can fill out the backtest in here with this simple name and put in the relevant data, and then you can run the strategy inside of LumaBot. So once you have it tuned inside of Jupyter Notebook, you can move it here and get it rolling. So this is how you go to production. And I highly suggest you use like one of the clouds versus trying to just host it yourself. It's it's a lot harder, and if you have a power outage, there could be a lot of issues. Okay. Again, guys, keep the questions coming. I'm going to now talk a little bit about the course. Let me see if I can find it here. Nope, that's not it. Oh, here it is. Okay. So let me talk about this course. So we've taught this course probably about, I don't know, 6 or 7 times now, quite a few times. And what it's focused on is essentially the practical side of coming up with a model, optimizing it, and then using it in a trading bot to make money. There's several different plans. We have a self-directed plan, which is really nice because it is affordable. You have access to complete library and the code, so you can work at your own pace, and the price is really low. We also have the live class pass, which I teach a machine learning one, and there's other instructors who teach other courses, and you get a chance to kind of collaborate. A lot of the students will buddy up with each other on projects, and then we have the project help tutoring plans. So we'll meet with you through video conferencing Zoom to make sure that you understand the concept and are able to build your custom forecaster for your whatever you're trying to trade. So there's these are different courses. There's self-directed course, which is really affordable, except you don't get the interactiveness that you get with the live course. The live course is by far the most popular, although some people do also sign up for the tutorial help as well. Basically, you get a lot more access using the live class, which is why I think it's far more popular. You could look at some of the endorsements we got for our course here. This is what you'll learn in the course, and then what you'll get all of this is you'll get a really good understanding about like the tools. We'll get into how do you apply machine learning, when do you want to apply it, some of the models you should be using, like linear regression, random forest. These are very basic fundamental models, so it's a good way to get your feet wet. We'll be doing deep learning. I'll explain like the difference between deep learning and shallow learning. We'll get into the why, what, when to use deep learning, and then how to train and validate your deep learning model. Optimizing models, we use a lot of the advanced APIs on Google Cloud for like Google AutoML tables or Google AI platform. But we also track results in experiment sheet, and this lets you know if you're winning or losing, right? So this is very important. There's a live class coming up. It's in March, and right now you can get a special. So one advantage you guys have of watching this webinar is you can get a coupon code called LAEBMLM to get a special rate for the discount right here. And the same thing also for the general. If you do it by April 19th and use this promo code, you could get another little bonus. Yeah, so these are the two projects. So the goal of the course is for you to walk out of here with a working trading bot so that you can use it to trade and make money on your stock. Okay. Any questions? Oh, actually, someone asked a question here. Let me try to answer it. Let's see. I'd love to be able to go through some of some examples with Collab, what you just did. Is there some sort of pre-recorded video and the Lumos YouTube channel where you've done that so I can pause when I need? So actually, that's one advantage of joining the course. But also, there's a lot of videos on this you could follow on, and a lot of times there's links to the actual project. So I think the general answer is yes. Good question. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, well, it doesn't look like there's any other questions, so just want to encourage you guys to look at the course more closely, or at least sign up for the Discord or YouTube channel. You should definitely try to subscribe to the YouTube channel because there's a lot of great content on there, and really appreciate you guys listening to this webinar and asking great questions. So thank you so much. Robert, is there any other words you would like to add before we end this?
Hey, Greg. No, I just want to say great job. It's fantastic. I always find your presentations really, really cool, especially the types of results that you're getting using this stuff is very impressive. So thanks again for the presentation and great job.
Thank you so much, Robert. Okay, guys, well, have a great day, and thank you for participating in this webinar.